Tom Aspinall is a great fighter. He's incredibly athletic with fast hands and feet, big, tall, British, thick, solid, tight. He's undoubtedly the future of the UFC's heavyweight division, and he's become a thorn in the side of Jon Jones, being not only the interim champion, but also somewhat of the people's champion. Somebody that a large amount of fans see as the rightful heavyweight champion, being that he's been the most active fighting contenders that are appropriately ranked. And the public perception has been that Jon Jones has been ducking him.
Call me a duck, call me a chicken, call me a goat, call me a dog. I'm not in high school anymore, guys. A grown man out here chasing his dreams. It's funny that we really live in a world where being called a duck should affect me.
But there's one problem. He's too nice, and his attempts at a call out have been passive and half-hearted, and in this video, I'll explain why this inability to seize the moment will majorly hurt his career. I'm a Jon Jones fan, but there's no doubt that he's avoiding Tom.
I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. His fans have been so annoying. And obviously you don't get this far in a career being affected by fans, but he's just an asshole. He's 30, so he's from this influencer generation where you hop online and the t-shirt sales and all that. I'm past that type of stuff. I'm like, bro, if you had a little bit more respect, then maybe we could have worked something out. I just don't even want to do business with him. You know, at the end of the day, this is a business, and fighting me gives him an opportunity to change his life forever. And I don't even want to give him the opportunity.
In order to be the best in the heavyweight division, you have to have intangibles, namely power and an insane ability to take a punch. And we saw these qualities in pretty much every champion in the past decade plus. And Jon simply is not made for heavyweight. He doesn't hit hard enough, and his offensive wrestling and submission game is not aggressive or powerful enough for this weight class. And I know this sounds crazy because of what he was able to do to Ciryl Gane, but he picked Ciryl Gane for his first fight at heavyweight for a reason. Not only did Ciryl have huge holes in his game when it came to grappling, he was also an abnormally light puncher for the weight class, so the threat of being knocked out with one punch simply wasn't there. So Jon had both a very clear path to victory and also a lot of room to make mistakes on the feet. But taking that fight out of the equation, Jon himself is not as much of a threat as most heavyweight fighters. Nobody's going into a fight at heavyweight with Jon Jones thinking that they'll be flatlined or seriously injured. At worst, they'll get out grappled. And when people fight you with no fear of being hurt, it's only a matter of time before they hurt you. And Jon understands this, which is why he's carefully choosing his matchups, going after Stipe, who's 40 years old, but has the status of being the greatest heavyweight ever. Which sounds great in theory, but realistically speaking, in order to be the greatest heavyweight ever in the UFC, you only had to defend your title 4 times. And granted, he did it, so he deserves the accolade, but there was never a point in Stipe's career where I felt like he was head and shoulders above his competition, like Anderson Silva or Jon Jones in his prime. He always looked very beatable, even in the fights that he won. So in Jon's eyes, this is a way to maximize his accomplishments with a matchup that's seemingly a lot easier than the real #1 contender in the heavyweight division. Because in 20 years, nobody's going to remember that Jon avoided Tom Aspinall. They'll only look at the surface level accomplishments. Just like nobody remembers or cares that Floyd Mayweather lost to Jose Luis Castillo in 2002. At the time, fans were saying that he was no longer undefeated and he needed to give Castillo a rematch, which he eventually did. But he got the official victory in the history books, and ultimately that's all that matters. So 20 years later, he says he's undefeated and nobody questions it.
And we all know God only made one thing perfect, and that's my boxing record.
And that's not a knock on Floyd Mayweather. Everybody has an off day, and ultimately he was the superior fighter, but I'm just saying history isn't remembered by technicalities and details. And to circle back to the topic of intangibles, while Jon always was considered to be a larger light heavyweight, he is definitely an undersized heavyweight. And when him and Tom Aspinall stood next to each other, you could definitely tell that they were a weight class apart. In fact, he wasn't even taller than Tom Aspinall, something that we're not used to seeing since Jon was always one of the tallest guys at light heavyweight. And for being really honest, he even looked smaller than Alex Pereira, who went up from middleweight to his old weight class of light heavyweight. And while being very undersized wasn't necessarily an issue for guys like DC, it is for Jon because his fight game relies on impeccable strategy and fight IQ, which doesn't mean as much when guys are able to just steamroll you. And on top of all of that, he's also 37 years old, only 3 years younger than Stipe. So I'm saying that to say he's in a very vulnerable position right now in the strategy that he's using with Stipe, trying to get the biggest name with the most accomplishments, but also the easiest fight, is the strategy that Tom Aspinall should be using with him. And yes, Tom has been calling him out, but he's just being too respectful.
I've never said anything bad about Jon Jones's career or Stipe's career, and I never will. I respect what they've done in their careers. Amazing careers. What I've got against this fight in particular is it's contested for an undisputed heavyweight title. Now, for me, and I'm seeing online for a lot of other people, this is far from undisputed.
This is the only opportunity like this that he'll ever get. There won't be another Jon Jones that he can fight and retire. Him securing a win over Jon Jones now is the difference between him becoming a household name overnight and a potential cash cow for the UFC, or becoming just another heavyweight champ in a dull and completely uninteresting heavyweight division, let's be honest. This should mean everything to him, financially, historically, competitively, so why is he being so nice? The fans have really been doing the heavy lifting for him.
The winner should absolutely fight Tom.
I understand that it's a matter of respect, but at the end of the day, it's his livelihood and legacy on the line, and nobody showing him any respect by saying that they'll fight him. He'll just be echoing what the fans are already saying. They already think that Jon is cherry picking an easy victory, and they already think that Tom should be the rightful guy fighting him. But at this point, it's too late. Tom is now officially at the mercy of how a fight between Jon and Stipe goes.
So the main goal is to get past Stipe. And if I can do it in a really dominant, devastating fashion, then the desire in my heart would be like, okay, now it's Alex Pereira. And if the UFC doesn't want that to happen, because ultimately it's the boss's decision, then it won't happen. And I'll just move on with my life. But that's one of the ways I look at it is, would you guys rather lose me or get one more super fight? And the only super fight that makes sense to me, not to everyone else, but to me and my team, is Alex Pereira.
If Jon wins but struggles, he'll likely just retire. If Stipe wins, which is a non-zero chance, that means the fight is completely dead in the water. And a fight between Stipe and Tom is not nearly as interesting, mainly because we've already seen Stipe lose several times. The whole intrigue of him and Jon competing is whether or not he can be the one to break Jon's unbeaten streak. Haters are frothing at the mouth, wanting to see Jon legitimately lose for the first time, and if that's no longer a factor, then nobody cares. This now should have been Tom's fight, and the fact that he wasn't able to generate enough controversy and excitement in order to snatch it is solely on him. Because at 31, it won't be long before he becomes the older fighter, and with Jon and Stipe gone, who is he going to build his legacy against? He already fought everybody that matters. Fighting Cyril Gane won't mean anything since he already lost to Francis Ngannou and got humiliated by Jon. Alex Pereira won't do much for him because the excuses of him being too old, too small, and not having wrestling will be prevalent. He'll just be number one in a barren wasteland of a division, which eventually will get better, but by then, Tom will be the guy that the new breed is trying to make their names off of. But let me know what you think about my take in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. And if you want to support the channel further and get perks like highlighted comments and early access to videos, become a member by hitting join if you're on Android or desktop, or the link in the description if you're on iOS.
I feel like Tom's been such an
Hello, Jon. I have nothing against you personally.
that I don't want to do business with him.
I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight. So I'm coming for it.
I'm like, bro, if you had a little bit more respect, then maybe we could have worked something out, you know. But
If you kick my ass in front of the whole world, I'm happy to put my hand out and go, listen, you're the better man. No problem. You took my dreams away from me, but at least I tried.
he's just an asshole.